Welcome to another episode of Behind the Catch Fence. I'm your host, David Hoffman. The Indianapolis 500 is almost here, and man, it can't come soon enough. To help lead up to the greatest spectacle in racing, today we have a two-time winner of the event joining us for the second time in the show's history, driver of the number 75 for Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing, Takuma Sato. Takuma, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Of course, always great to have you on. First off, I know now that you're only running an Indy only schedule, what do those other 11 months look like for you when you're not, running, and being in Indy in the month of May?
Yeah, so actually, driving race car is such a short period, considering, if you have a full year. But honestly speaking, and physically, it's actually busier than before because now I am a part of HLC program. So I'm an executive advisor, what they call in title, which means fundamentally, I am kind of overlooking entire Honda's for the cars, for motorsports division. One of the things that the local race in Japan, of course, domestic races, but also the international as well. Not Formula One is not including right now, but primarily looking after young drivers. So we call the HFDP, which is a Honda Formula Dream project. That's basically a scholarship system for the older drivers who graduated for Honda Racing School in Suzuka. So the stage by stage, they move up to the different category. And for example, the last year, one of the graduates, and 2 years ago, I won a French F4 championship in FFSA, now competing a Formula Regional European Championship in Europe. So those kind of ladder system that we're looking after. So I'm kind of attending 50% of each categories. So primarily off season, based in Japan, but of course this April May for the Indy 500 time is of course in Indianapolis, and then the rest of it is just flying all over in Europe and just spending a lot of time overseas as well to looking after a couple young drivers as well as for example, like Ayumu, the testing in the Formula One, and if I be, just supporting for that event or et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just, looking after a lot of Honda Motorsports program, and that's make me get going. It's quite busy in terms of the physical.
I can imagine it. How cool has that been for you to be able to, you go from solely a driver to now this sort of, obviously you're still running Indy and still highly competitive, but to
Yes.
have this new sort of chapter in your life to be able to give back and help drivers, that are just starting.
Well, I really appreciate it, the people who been supportive, supporting me for all time, entire career. Now, of course, it's a lot of loyal sponsors, and then of course it's Honda. It's a big part of it. So, I'm really proud to be, the family member as a Honda, motorsports division, and then now is a time that I could supporting back to what I have experienced and what I have an idea of the racing contents, a big grateful things. Now, of course, when you are actually competing and yourself as an athlete to the season, you don't want to basically jump off the car. You always wanted to focus on what you're doing. So from that point of view, it would be very difficult to imagine what I do in terms of what I am standing today. But once you get going, actually, I am enjoying to looking after some of the, particularly for the young driver program, which is fun, and then also it's a lot of different events and collaborations and lots of meetings, and which is quite fascinating. It's a kind of background of behind the scene that I was I was being part of a Honda for a long time, but a lot of areas that I never actually seen it or touch it. So knowing that how the business is working, how the structure is working, and that is why we were able to racing and all sort of bigger picture to access it is it's quite fascinating, and also it's grateful that the being selected as one of the members. So yeah, I'm actually okay with that, and as long as I'm competing, even okay once for the year, which is not a lot, but particularly for the Indy 500 is such an important role, important event in my life. So to keep going for that challenge, rest of the time, yeah, I'm working for the young drivers and the Hondas.
It's a really cool thing that you can keep doing for years and years to come too. And I'm sure they'll obviously be excited to have you like for any advice and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
looking into Indy, obviously the open test was, I guess, a couple weeks ago at this point. You had a
Yes.
pretty, obviously you were very fast. Like you had like no number one, no toe speed and all this, and then you had a pretty bad crash that really
Yep.
destroyed the car and all that. I think you hit it with 94 G's or something like that.
Yes.
Oh, as a driver, how do you come back from something like that and to continue to keep that, your motto, no attack, no chance mindset
Well,
despite all that happening?
yeah, it's nothing to do with no attack, no chance. But I mean, the it's better not to have it. Let's put it this way. Of course not. Nobody wants to see it that way. Nobody wants to be that impact. 94 Gs is 3.5 tons in my body weight. Obviously we talk about millisec. But obviously I bruises all over the place and I slightly hairline fractured my legs and etc. etc. So it's not it's not a nice experience, and particularly for the boys, if they have to rebuild the car, not just to rebuild, actually they had to completely build a new car, which is extra work. And of course, obviously, I feel really um, grateful that all the boys do and the teams committing on this program. So I just only say big thank you to big help, and also not the way we want to prove it, but IndyCar safety is massively improved over the course of years. And now I'm totally come back to be ready for the 500. Only like you said, it was only 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago that I had a moment, and my body is fine. It's incredible to see. I actually lost my rear 233 miles per hour at the apex. So it's fast, and there is just a almost a fraction second that I already hit the wall, where I could feel like everything I could see the slow-mos and like taking like forever to hit the wall. But actually, if you clock it, it's still pretty fast. And there is what do you call the speed trap, exit turn one for the sectors. And actually, I hit the wall and still doing over 210 miles per hour. So imagine it. The impact 94G is in fact it's massive. I broke my seat, split it to half, and everything, all the crescendos, and you can see the old bending stuff, all the stuff. But to protect the drivers this way is unbelievable. So big thank you to IndyCar safety team, and of course Dalalas, build such a great car. So yeah, I'm grateful for that part. Of course, in financially, it's a lot of tough situation for the team, but team really commit. That's only I only cannot appreciate that. Now there's upside too, that because usually the team spend about 2 months period in terms of build a super speedway car, because it's such a details work and a lot of works is related, but they have experienced quite a lot this year. So they be able to speed it up to reassemble the cars and prepare the car within 2 weeks, which is amazing, because even today, right now, just the day before the actually loading start, the boys are still working on Sunday. So I only appreciated that. But they are such a motivated the boys and mechanics, and they build a beautiful car. So I can't wait to get back on the track. And in fact, I think it was even better car than we had a moment. So no, it'll be very looking forward to. All in all, I think it's a very positive energy. Now I lost almost the entire test day in afternoon, which including race runs and a race stream, which we haven't done it yet. But in upside is that we now analyze quite a bit what happened, and it was definitely a good step forward. So as you said, yeah, we were fastest in non-tow situation, and in a single tow we were P3. And I think we were I would say we'll be one of the very big contender this year. So which is exactly what we wanted over the course of the winter. So no, it's a great progress from the team.
And it's super cool to see the progression, they're posting on Twitter and everything, how, it started off a couple weeks ago and now they're almost done with the car. And it just shows the
Amazing.
tireless effort. I can't,
Yeah.
that's just insanity to me.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, super work, super job from the team. No, unbelievable commitment and effort.
And, considering how fast you were, I can tell that you're not really worried about speed wise, but how difficult is that to, go from one car to another and hoping, and not hoping,
Yes.
but make sure that that car is as fast, if not faster than the old one.
Right, right. No, it's obviously we working really hard in a team, try to making a build qualities and everything, try to equalize everything. I mean, even last year, okay, perhaps I was only one we succeed in qualification in terms of pure speed, but I think it's fair to say at the race stream, I think all three cars were I think it's equal, the speed we had. And I think this year it just happened to yesterday though, but Indy GP, all three Reho car was in fast six in first time in history. That's a proof of significance of a build quality across the platform is very, very good quality. So I think I could say comfortably that across our four cars program for this year's Indy 500, I think each railway car is basically within a very few percentage in tolerance that the performance was almost identical. So the data shows that all the dyno test and all the wind tunnel test and everything shows the build quality is a lot better this year, certainly higher than last year significantly. And I think open test speed is just one factor that yeah, we feel a little more confident than last year. However, a lot of big teams and they haven't really showed the true speed yet. Of course not. So I'm not too optimistic, for that. Not that easy, never easy, David. So it's gonna be a tough challenge, but for sure we were a serious contender for the front rows, and if not, and possibly second rows. That's ultimately our realistic target. Putting a few cars in the second rows, and I think it's possible.
Now, obviously, it's a major accomplishment to win the 500 race once, but to be able to do it twice is an even harder feat. I mean, when you go from your first win in 2017 and then fast forward to 2020, and just as you have kept to try and win the race year after year, how much harder is it to win that second one after you know how to get it done that first time and then to try and do it again?
Yeah, it's a just name of the sport. You never be able to predict. Now, of course, all the preparation does matter, and particularly in mod racing, as everybody knows, everything has to be perfect. The all the equipment and strategies, and see the conditions and proactively. And of course, driver is part of it too. You have to drive, minimize the mistake, and a lot of commitment and etc. One little piece is a failed, then you're not going to be able to win. So everything has to be perfect, which including some luck too, which you can't really control. But a lot of things is, as I said, basically no attack, no chances comes into it. I mean, there is a chances all over the place for the equally for every single 33 drivers. However, if you are waited for the given the chance, maybe just a less than 1%, you'd be lucky to be right place on the right time. But if you just keep challenging it, you actually open up, make a little bit more, or chance you can chances over chances grab it yourself is bigger. That's my philosophy. So that's why you try keep challenging all the time. Now, of course, no offense, 33 drivers exactly same committed, 100% all the time, and the team, and so on, so on. So everyone we talk about is just the last 1 or 2% of the complete pinnacle. But still, there is a little difference. That's a sport, that's a human involving, and not to the AI. So that's I think it's people were moved, and the people, how can I say, get the fun of it. It has the energy of it because it's a human sport. So that's a big part. At the same time, the race is a science. So preparation and all the things does matter so importantly. So doing a one win not necessarily give you you can do it second time or third time. There is no guarantee, and there's a plenty of driver who deserve to win and deserve to not wins, and so on so on. But people say, end of the day, the IMS will choose the winner. Just just you need some luck too. But at the same time, I was very fortunate to be part of Andretti Autosport back in 2017. So Michael gave me a really fair chance to every single driver. I mean that day we were so strong. Mark Andretti, of course, but Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi, and of course Fernando Alonso was there, and then myself, and then as a satellite, Jack was there too. So it's a huge family, but every single driver is a true potential winner, and the team prepare this such a quality car. Now, I think I think that's one of the things that's the lesson that some people saying some politics in it within the team and sometimes happen. There's no hidden things. But Michael was a very you know very honest and the great operations that give every single driver at equal equipment or chance at least. So that was it. And in 2017, we pulled, beautifully, the perfect way to win the race. And with the Helio customer base battling, it's a great, great memory of myself. And then the second time was a kind of dedumption or something I left over at the Rahal 2012 and going back to the Rahal and then another win achieved with the same engineer, same boys. Sorry, engineers was different, but the same, obviously ownership, the Bobby and Mike and David. And finally I was able to give back something I left at 2012, and then 2020 we won the same team again. So that was just a significant moment. So I think I'll be just really fortunate to be in that position in two times.
And looking back at 2017, first time winning it was a big time moment for you. And after you go on and, through the celebration process, countless media, and it's finally dark out, and you kind of have a second to yourself to really sit down before, say, you go to sleep or something. Just how did you what were those thoughts as you were winding down and realizing, man, I've really won the Indianapolis 500?
I think it took a while to be honest, I mean it's really really wild moment because as soon as you across the finish line, of course you're winning, but your body is no longer yours. I think it's been shared by multi-millions and somebody's, I've been pulled with a satellite meeting and the press conference one-on-one and thanking to all the sponsors and it take the moment I jump off the car and have a celebration with pouring milk myself in 5 hours I wasn't able to even pull off my race suits, and with all the debris and milks and obviously sweating, unbelievably after 3 hours in hot race. And it's all dried out. Everything's become powders. And that hard, then of course you get changed and then you go to the a lot of photo shooting, celebration, everything is going on till 10 p.m. 10 p.m. was my last photo shoot. And then you go to downtown to join the team and big celebration and you lost your voice. And then on Monday, that's the banquet is coming. 11 radio interviews, it's just unbelievable situation. And then immediately after the banquet, usually you're exhausted, you're going home. But I'm not. I wasn't. I jump into the IndyCar's private jet and flew to the New York at the 12 o'clock midnight and landing there, check-in, and the very next morning we went to this the winners tours and ring the bell at NASDAQ and going to the Empire State and have a massive, what do we say, the scrum meetings and interviews, and just unbelievable. Then that night, I thought it was finally it's over, but it's going to the cocktail party. And then I went to another private jet at the midnight to go to the Texas. Then we went to the, Cowboys, and the tour was amazing. But by the time Wednesday, probably evening, everything finally finished. And then they let me flew into Detroit. And then the Thursday, settled into the engineering. And then Friday, you already on the track in Detroit with one of the bumpiest track. Come from 230 miles per hour, smoothest Indianapolis even the wheel spin in the sixth gear, the back straight in the Detroit. It's just my eyeballs like bouncing all the time, and that it's incredible feeling. But then 2017 it was back on back, and I thought I was on pole, wasn't it? Well, at least it's a very high qualifier in 2017 Detroit.
Yeah, I believe so.
I thought I was on pole.
Mhm.
So usually after the 500, because of various reasons, the body is obviously completely exhausted and your mind is all over the place. It's a very difficult weekend for going to Detroit. But we were putting really high energies. And that's the boys the same. Engineers, boys, everybody lost their voices. So you can't really talk, but it was a great memory. Now, of course, race didn't go well as we wished, but nevertheless, I think that was a weekend that Graham probably won big time. But anyway, so it's Indy 500 to Detroit was kind of tradition, on those days. And that was just there was every seconds or minute I had to do something. So there is no time actually you realize you actually winner. But then day by day, just gradually you keep it. Wow, we actually won the Indy 500. It's just an amazing feeling when you wake up on the bed in the morning, and was it daydream or was it really happening, or just sometimes you aren't sure, but day by day I think your appreciation getting more and more, and then when you come back to the IMS for every time you just feel appreciation, and to be part of that club in here is it's an incredible feeling.
I just can't imagine you go from full-time driver to full-time like spokesperson and trying to talk and describe everything over and over again and try everyone's pulling you in different directions, and the fact that you're able to, you don't really get to rest much. So then all of a sudden, all right, go on the bumpiest track that you could possibly
Yeah.
have. Oh,
It was probably possibly one of my busiest time in my life on those 15 days, or I would say probably months of May, yeah, that people called. So but it's good though. It's definitely a once in a lifetime experience, and you never forgot the appreciation with every people who involved, their energies and commitment and just effort is unbelievable. Without them, a driver is just a person, nothing you can do. Not even you can turn up the engine today. So, well, today hybrid engine, so you can actually make up engine by yourself. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, end of the day, driver is the one to make a decision in terms of how you commit into the corner, but it's all in teamwork. So, no, I would be really fortunate to have a great people surrounding.
and you mentioned this a little bit ago, the hybrid. It'll be your first time really running it in a race.
Yes.
For the open test, I'm curious, how did that feel? What was that? How is it going to be different in terms of
Yeah.
your side, and then obviously the racing side of things as well?
It's pretty interesting though, David, that I mean, mechanically, the system is very sophisticated. And, the big capacitor, supercapacitor give you a really quick charge, and then, the region for that energy, and then deploy pretty quickly. Now, of course, we don't have a luxury to have a huge cell as a battery, so the deploy time is very limited. However, it's pretty powerful. You can feel it. And definitely for the speedways, for a long time, we never had kind of a push to pass, or those kind of stuff. IndyCar always obviously looking, for the possibility, but in fact we never actually use it for the boost, for the overtaking. Now you can use it, part of it as a hybrid system. Now, of course, there is offense and defense. If you use the same time, as the net result is not so much different. But in the train or in the traffic, the situation or circumstance is always changing. So I think it's a great tool to how you utilize is depending on team and driver. I think if there is one more things that putting for the effort for the driver, which kind of making more opportunity for overtaking because simply using it make most of it, or people sometimes make a mistake too. Just imagine that all the buttons and the paddles that you have to use it's unbelievable. And in fact, it's a lot of it is very confusing too. So because at the same time we have to use the weight checkers and front anti-roll, rear anti-rolls where you approach the corners. At the same time, then you have the region deploys. It's a lot of buttons and things that you have to deal with, particularly qualify too. So imagine if you are under a lot of pressure with surrounding 4 or 5 cars and you actually, you know, challenging for the win the race, and then you have to use those 3 paddles and 6 other buttons and all together. So that's a pretty well enough to confuse yourself. But I think it's is a good challenge for the drivers, and it's good tool definitely for the fans. Will be able to see it more good defense and also good good overtaking as well. I think it's everything is good thing, and technically it's a very impressive, to install that system to our kind of, long continuous of or a say old car. To be able to run it like this it's pretty good. Now, having said that, we will have extra power, but on the downside is the car is very heavy now. Now it's a system unit itself is probably about 60 pounds. Now 60 pounds in a normal car doesn't really probably won't feel it. But where every single gram does matter for the race cars, particularly its system is its bell housing, which is between engine and the gearbox. So the heavy things on the close to the rear axle, which is kind of the polar moment, it's very different. The way to divisions shifting, it's like a Porsche 911 feeling. So it's definitely more challenging in terms of balance. And to get the same grip level out from a last year's Ryder car is virtually it's impossible. So we have to put more downforce. We have to mechanically protecting, which means you get some stages understeer, oversteers coming both together and entry to the exit to the corner. So it affects a lot, but at least everybody on the same boat. So the winner will clearly the best person to figure out those kind of challenging spots, which is good for the sport. So I think we feel that there's a great chance to equalize from top team to the let's say for the single car team. Never the same, but I think opportunity will be even wider, I believe.
It's gonna be interesting to watch as the month of May goes on and practice and who is up there, and especially toward the end of the race as well, and how they utilize it.
Yes, I think so too. Yes.
And final question for me, coming up on your 16th Indy 500. Crazy to say 16 already. Yeah, how much longer do you want to keep doing this? Because it seems like even though you're running Indy only, it seems like every year you have to talk about Takuma
Yeah.
Sato. He's just always there, like.
No, I appreciate that. As long as fans excited and fans waiting for me, I'll be come back. Now, of course, physically there is so many factor that you have to go in. And now, of course, it's a physical condition myself, how motivated I am. Of course, if I lost motivation, I shouldn't be in the sport, of course. But fortunately, I am motivated as ever. And it's been age of 48 now that of course is settling into a lot of stuff, and then particularly like we talked about earlier that the HRC program for the young driver program, a lot of things for the management level that I'm start involving, which is another chapter of my life, which is very fascinating, very grateful to be in. But it's having one as a race car driver, having the 500 challenging time, that is for me is most important. So this is great. I probably will be a little bit hesitant to go into the 17, 18 events per season now because all the traveling, just so exhausting for everything. But yeah, I mean, if I have opportunity, yeah, maybe why not? But I think to me, I'm really happy to settle into even though single race is tough, but yeah, I take it. And Indy 500 is probably welcoming those kind of refreshers. That's a good program. There's a couple days in practice, which is you have never enough, but there's a good time to catch up for the permanent, regular people. So no, I think it's great for me to keep on going and challenging. Now, of course, a lot of sponsors, a lot of people is involving for the challenge. So as long as we can keep it as the same package and everybody feels the same way, I want to come back. Yeah, I want to come back a few more times, of course. So but at least this 16th my challenge in 2025. It's going to the Indy 500 with Ray Horaceman running and racing. This is the most exciting things ever happening again for me. So definitely big challenge, but I feel very confident I'll be able to challenge for the highest competition.
Well, no one's going to complain if we see you out there for another 5, 10 years. I mean, it's always fun to watch you
Yeah,
compete, and
thank you.
we always appreciate you joining the show as well. And hopefully, maybe you'll be grabbing another Borg Order trophy by the end of the month. But we appreciate taking the time,
I
and
try.
hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully everything goes well. And yeah, you have a good day, Takuma.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thanks.